Hello, good morning, and welcome to Somerset News Network. Now, it's not very often that I do talk to camera. I'm not the best guy to do it. But putting Tommy Robinson in jail for reporting and doing what he did after he's been convicted, the conviction overturned by an appeal court, and then put on trial again, is absolutely ridiculous. What's our state coming to? We've got something called the rule of law, and everybody is supposed to follow the law. We have a constitution, we have rights. But it looks as if the judiciary and the politicians are changing that law. They're explaining the law and twisting it for their own ends. For instance, a new law is brought in, and it is allegedly now supposed to repeal the old law without the old law actually being repealed. And they call it implied repeal. How can you have implied repeal? An act of parliament of a sovereign country, which we used to be, is an act of parliament. It is the law. If you bring in a new law that contradicts the old law should be repealed by Parliament. Now, I'm not a fan of Tommy's. I don't like the way he's gone about doing things. But I've looked into the case, I've followed him, and I am absolutely disgusted at this country and the way that people are being treated. There are Muslim rape gangs up and down the country, grooming kids, dealing in drugs, selling girls from one gang to another. They were even taking girls from Essex, from social services, and putting them into pedophile homes up north. You can't make this stuff up. If people really understood what was going on, they would be on the streets. And yes, Tommy supporters are on the streets. They're trying to tell you what's going on. This country is turning into a lawless state, and our police are allowing it to happen. Yes, I know the Muslim gang went to court and Tommy reported it, but they are being, the powers that be are being forced into this action because they've been found out. We can't go on like this. Everybody has to stand up for the rule of law. We've got a police force that is supposed to stand up for the rule of law. And they do not. They're interested in small convictions, on the spot parking fines, speeding tickets, things to make money. But real crime, under their noses, what are they doing about it? We now know from an ex-police officer who was at the Tommy rally that Gordon Brown and the Home Office told the police forces in this country that girls that are being linked to these grooming gangs do it of their own free will. Now, if these girls are under 16 and they're being having sex with these grooming gangs, that is rape. There is no ifs or buts about it. It is rape. How can our government condone that? Surely we should be putting Gordon Brown on trial for not protecting the girls. What's our government and police forces doing at the moment? We know that in Rotherham Even the councillors were involved. Even some of the MPs have been involved in paedophilia. It's the most evil crime next to murder, in my view. The most important thing you can do is to protect your children. That's what we all thrive to do. We worry about our children when they go down to the disco at night and if they're going to come home. When my kids were younger, we used to go and pick them up about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. As they got older, then it became 1 o'clock in the morning. We'd try and pick them up if we could. And then as they get older, you still worry about them. And we always tried to make sure that they went out with friends and stayed together. But looking after children is the most important thing. So what is Tommy doing? Tommy is telling you that girls as young as 13 are being groomed in sex gangs. There was a case reported in the Times. A girl of 14 was being raped in a house by 50 men. Yeah, 50. They were on the stairs waiting to go into the bedroom when the police arrived. What did the local police do? Arrest the girl for being drunk. You can't make this up. No wonder why these grooming gangs are being allowed to continue. Tommy has been trying to tell you this for years. I don't agree with the way that he's been doing it, but let's face it, if he has not been heard and he has to get his message across, he has had to do what he's had to do. He's had to scream and shout and make a nuisance of himself. Tommy should be given a medal, not put in jail. Sorry, this is Ian, Somerset News Network, and I just find it very odd that people trying to protect children are put in jail and the grooming gangs and the rapists are allowed to continue. Yes, they convict one or two, but I think it's only a token to show that they're doing something. I think our government, our police are so corrupt that it needs a good sweep out. It needs people to be in control of the police, not the police in control of the people. Yeah. We need to go back to local policing. All this centralisation of the police forces. Look at the police force in Scotland. It's now one police force. They're trying to amalgamate the counties in England. The more closer links you have with the police, the more centralisation of the police service, the less effective they will be. You know, we should all be supporting the police. We should all be police officers. Every single one of us. Henry VIII called it the human cry, where if there was a robber and he needed to be brought down, you all chased him. Perhaps that's what we ought to go back to. Community policing by the community, and we will back up the police. People volunteer to support the police. You know, why can't we do 2 or 3 hours? Be the eyes and ears of the police. You know, let's work together, the whole community. Let's try and clean this country up. Tommy is right in what he says. Like I've said before, I didn't like the way he went about doing it. But he had to get his message across. I think it's wrong that Tommy is being put in jail. I think they've done it on trumped up charges. I think it's totally wrong. And Tommy, although I'm not your supporter, I support you in this. I think you've done an amazing job with what you've had to do. You've had to be belligerent, if that's a word to use, to get your message across. And it's time for the people to stand up and support you. Anyway, Ian Sumrall, Somerset News Network, supporting Tommy Robinson, not because of the way he did it, but what he did. He promoted the truth. Yes, he just told the truth, and he's being put in jail for it. Tommy, I support you, and I think what they've done to you is totally 100% wrong, and it shows how lawless states start. This is how Nazi Germany started in the 30s with the black shirts. And it is frightening, and I'm worried. Anyway, Ian Sumrall, Somerset News Network, signing off.